Well, we have been engaged in operation of crisis management, peacekeeping, peacemaking for 10 years. We have been in all the continents, and we have had an experience of doing operation without both military and civilian. And I think that has been for me one of the most interesting experiences from previous periods of time, in which from the very beginning in this type of operation you do it both from the civilian point of view and the military point of view, because both are required in some of them. And the fact that we are doing all the planning and all the action from the very beginning in this double track, that to my mind has been very successful. Successful, as I said, in Africa, successful in Asia. I remember very well the operation that we did in Aceh, in that important place where a big conflict was resolved and maintained by our efforts, and in other places like in the Balkans in particular. So the important thing to my mind now is to be aware that this type of problems have to be resolved with an engagement from the beginning to the end, taking into consideration all the elements: civilian, military, NGOs, reconstruction, aid. Everything has to be planned from the very beginning. If not, the possibility of success are limited. Well, I think Iraq and Afghanistan, or the Afghanistan of today, are different. And Iraq was both was a war that started as purely militarily, and I do think that was a mistake. I think from the beginning, as I said before, all the elements have to be put in place at a different weight. At the beginning may have more weight the military component, but it would be a mistake not to have from the beginning also the other elements of civilian nature, reconstruction, reconciliation if possible, etc. In Afghanistan today, and I hope that it is the end of the year 2009, after the elections, I hope that we'll have the possibility of a new contract, a new compact between the international community and the new government in Afghanistan, and that will lead us to a political exit. I think that at the end of the day, all the problems are political in nature. Therefore, at the end of the day, you have to have an exit strategy which is political. And in order to do that, you have to put together all the elements I mentioned before, but having in mind that at the end of the day, all the conflicts have a solution which is political. Well, we are going to maintain what we call the double track approach, which is an approach of having a cooperation, dialogue, negotiation, in order to find a political solution to a program that for us would be fundamental. It is strictly civilian. All the countries who have signed the Non-Proliferation Treaty have the right to have that type of program. But that right comes accompanied by some responsibilities. And the responsibility is to give to the rest of the international community the objective guarantees that these programs are strictly civilian, with no possible derivation into the military matter. And that is what we don't have from Iran. I hope that by the year 2010 we will solve this problem. But when I said a double track approach, is an approach, as I said, of dialogue, but also an approach of sanctions, because without that pressure on Iran, it will never be moving in the direction of being a normalized country vis-à-vis the Non-Proliferation Treaty. Well, the beginning of 2010 is going to be a very important year, because it will be elections among the Palestinians. I hope very much that by that time we have already created a new dynamics. With the new dynamics, what do I mean? A process in which both sides, with the mediation of the international community, the Quartet, for instance, the United States, will create the conditions to get a final agreement. A final agreement on the basic issues, which are the borders, which is Jerusalem, which is the question related to refugees and the security. All these things have to be resolved. The implementation may take longer time, but at least to have the definition of the parameters is something that we should be able to have, or at least try to have, before the elections among the Palestinians, who will take place at the end of the month of January 2010. With Russia, we have to upgrade our relationship, and that can be done in all dimensions, all directions, from the economy to the energy security to the question related to our neighborhood. We have a common neighborhood, countries which are part of this neighborhood that they used to have relations with Russia, now they want to have relations with the European Union. And Russia should know, and we should know, that those countries have the right to choose what type of neighborhood they want to have, what type of relation they want to have with Russia, what type of relation they want to have with the European Union. And the idea of spheres of influence, all these are part of the past, not part of the present or the future. But everybody is obliged to have a good relation with all the neighbors. And this is something that we have to try to create a climate propitious for that. But in any case, it's the responsibility of sovereign states to choose where they want to be, what want to be their friends, what relationship they want to have with every one of their neighbors.